So Manchester United 0, Leeds United 0, and it was a 0-0 draw at Stockholm, in the Stockholm Arena, Strawberry Arena rather, for both teams. It was more of a game where both teams were kind of like trying to test each other and know where we stand and all of that, and to kind of build momentum ahead of the season, which is quite understandable and everything. But if we look at it from the stats perspective, from stats perspective as well as from facts, it felt like there was a lot of like struggling a little bit, like a bit of getting to know the team, getting to understand the team. And Rúben Amorim has always been looking for that partnership between Bruno and Matheus Cunha. And it will also be an adjustment period, seeing as we've already got the here we go. Surprisingly, the Manchester United journalist, the guy we keep seeing on our screens during preseason, mentioned hopefully. He said in his talk, hopefully, and he sneakily snuck that thing in there, and he said hopefully, sneakily snuck. Nice. So he sneakily snuck the word, the sentence. Hopefully, with Mbeumo, we get that connection. But yeah, I watched Rúben Amorim's post-match interview, which you might see. Maybe you might probably see some clips on the channel, where he talked about trying to get that connection, trying to find that connection between the players. Especially, he said one of the things that he noticed, and this is what I also noticed during the game, is that the players were a bit too far from each other. The distance between each player was a bit too far. And then he talked about a station where, for Diogo León as well, it was more of an adjustment period for him. He said, oh, he's a young kid. He's just 18. He came from Paraguay and all of that. And I saw that. He was caught flat-footed a couple times. And I think the pressure, just wearing the shirt alone, was enough pressure for him. So I could totally understand that. I could totally understand what was really going on. And yeah, the team kind of took some time to try to get used to what was going on and all of that, which I quite understand. But based on stats, if we're looking at stats, the game pretty much ended in a 50-50 ball possession, 50-50 ball possession overall percentage. Man United had a total of 19 shots to Leeds United having 4 shots. But the where I have an issue is the total number of shots on target. And with the total number of shots on target for Manchester United was 4, Leeds was 3. So Leeds had better potential conversion rate. Big chances, Man United had 2, Leeds had 3. And then big chances missed, Man United missed both big chances. Leeds missed all 3 of their big chances as well. They had more accurate passes than Man United, 447, that's 86%, to 473, that's 89%. So to an extent, they had a lot of control. And then I noticed something in the first half. So let's just talk about it. And that's Rúben Amorim changing things mid-game, right? So I noticed something in the first half where Man United started with a formation of 3-4-3, where we had Matheus de Ligt standing in center of centre back. Left centre back was Lenny Yoro. No, was it? Left centre back Luke Shaw, sorry. Left centre back was Luke Shaw. Right centre back was right centre back was Nusra Mazraoui. And then in mid, we started with Collier and Casemiro in mid. So that looks like a strong core of 5 players, right? Atabayanda obviously in net. And then Amad Diallo comes in as right wing back. Then Diogo León as left wing back. And then Bruno Fernandes and Matheus Cunha at the 210s. And then Chido Obi. So it was a bit of a struggle and adjustment and all of that. Cunha was trying to make things happen. Obi was trying to make things happen. There was a chance that was supposed to be left for Cunha, but Obi went and stretched his foot and tried to score. And eventually, Cunha was like, kind of telling him, like, why didn't you leave the ball for me? And Obi was trying to apologize and all that. And I get that. He's a young lad, but I think he should try and understand that there are certain times where certain decisions need to be made with smartness, right? He saw Cunha. I saw him raise, in the slow-mo you can see, he saw Cunha, but then ended up still stretching his foot to hit the ball when Cunha could have hit that ball. But it actually makes sense. And while we're at it, I think Michael Rashford also Michael Rashford's deal was announced by Fabrizio Romano, but that's not for another video. And then basically now back to what I was saying. In game, Rúben Amorim changed the formation basically. So what he did was he moved Toby Collier to right wing back, moved Ahmad to a 10, dropped Bruno to a deep line playing midfielder, right? So Bruno beside Casemiro, Toby Collier to the right wing back, and then Ahmad to a 10. And guess what? When that happened, there was a bit of a quickness, there was a bit of a speed to the game, there was also a bit of tenacity and pressing and all of that. And that was what Rúben Amorim had always wanted. But it wasn't working. He even said it post-match that the relationship between Bruno and Cunha hasn't built properly. And I saw it in the game where it felt like Cunha was trying to make things happen. Bruno was also trying to make things happen. Meanwhile, Bruno's trying to switch that pass to this side, to the other side. Cunha is also trying to do the same thing, kind of thing. So it felt like they were both struggling. With Mbeumo, I could guess or try to imagine what would happen, but it's all good. Immediately he switched it up. He started to make sense. There was a lot of pressing. We had more chances. We had more tenacity. Ahmad changed things up front, pressing the goalkeeper and everything. And then when we now came to the second half, there was a raft of changes. The whole lineup was changed. And then in the second half, I think Tom Heaton also had some interesting saves. And it was in the second half, Tom Heaton had more saves, basically. He had, I think, about 3 or 4 saves. And Man United, the ball possession in the second half, Man United kind of took a bit of control. Man United actually took 57% ball possession to 43 and then had 10 shots in that second half. In both halves, basically, Man United had 19 shots. So 9 shots in the first half, and then 10 shots in the second half. And we had all our major chances in the second half as well. Shots on target 3, big chances 2, big chances missed 2, right? And then we had more accurate passes in the second half, ball control. And that was because we had players like Kobe Menu come in and work like a player who has that potential to kind of be press resistant and all of that. And to add one extra midfield, because I was thinking about it during the game, right? Now, at the end of the season, we lost 2 players in Johnny Evans and Victor Lindelof. And we need to at least replace them with one, even though I can see that there's Tyler Fredrickson, there's Godi Kukonkia and Rhys Monroe, being taken on tour and all of that. These young players are trying to be embedded. But there's also Edin Heaven, Lenny Yoro, Harry Maguire, Matheus de Ligt, and the likes, and even Luke Shaw playing at centre back, at the left side of centre back. So it will be very interesting to see who Rúben Amorim will start with, because even with Lisandro Martinez coming back from injury, there's also a chance that he could actually even come into the lineup and play on the left side of centre back and all of that. So it was interesting. In the second half also, I noticed that Rúben Amorim brought in Tyler Fredrickson and played him as the centre back. And I now realized, Tyler Fredrickson is actually older than Lenny Yoro. Tyler Fredrickson is 20. Lenny Yoro is 19. And then you had Edin Heaven, who is 18, right? So it was super interesting to actually see, the combination. And then Tyler Fredrickson, the most senior player of the 3, just kind of be in the center of the 3. And it was good. And I was trying to imagine things like, we have Tyler Fredrickson. Yeah, he's not really, really up to the level of Lenny Yoro. Lenny Yoro is way better, and Lenny Yoro already has Premier League experience for 1 full season, right? And first team experience playing for his previous club. So a lot of dynamics working there. In mid, I noticed a difference in the way we defended when Manuel Ugarte came on. Manuel Ugarte played in the mid and was the destroyer, and that's the thing that was missing. And eventually it kind of worked. First half, Casemiro, worked as well. He was doing some things, tackling and all of that, and Leeds were trying to press us amongst other things. But with Casemiro, it was pretty much like the same thing. He worked and he tried to make sure that things, were ticking along and all of that. But that's pretty much how we thought about the game. Basically, if we're going to do some kind of player ratings before we round it all off, I think we're going to go, let's just see it as the first of preseason, where obviously you know, everybody's trying to get to know each other. With Mbumo, it will be easier for them to kind of, at least they'll have this whole week to train. When Mbumo is signed, hopefully by Monday everything is done. The update is that the medical has already been booked and all of that. So with Mbumo, it will be interesting to see. At least we've got a sense of what it should look like when Ahmad plays there as a 10. Because Ahmad moved to 10 and he also was involved in a lot of pressing. And I think he kind of showed the rest of the team what kind of pressing, or what sort of pressing that we might be needing in order to achieve success with this team. So it is what it is. We have to just kind of move on. You know what? I'm going to skip the player ratings because with the eye test, maybe the best player on the field came from the bench, and that is Tom Heaton, 3 saves. And then we have Diogo Dalot as well. He had a good run out, even though albeit was second half. And then the best players from the first half were Nuzul Mazraoui and Bruno Fernandes. And then we were getting a sense of Matheus Cunha, those quick in-between play, running at players, you know, finding those tiny spaces and all of that. So we'll love to see that, and we look forward to seeing, because we having Matheus Cunha and Mbumo in this squad will change a lot of things. I know it will bring goals, but the dynamic of the play, there has to be a very good working relationship between both of them. And then in that mid, then we can now see, okay, maybe Bruno orchestrating things and controlling things, Eriksen style, you know, just, you know, ball playing and moving things around. And then any combination of either Manuel Ugarte, Casemiro, it's going to be an interesting thing. Because in defensive midfield role, we have 3 players who can actually satisfy that role. Manuel Ugarte, Casemiro, yeah, quite aged, and then the very young Toby Collier. And then in the other side of the ball-playing midfield role, we have 2 players who can actually do it, and we might probably need one, and that is in the presence of Bruno Fernandes, who can actually do it, Kobe Mainu, right? So, yeah, we just need to build momentum. We just need to allow ourselves to thrive and all of that. But it was a 0-0 draw. Good way to start preseason, clean sheet and all of that. Next game will be next week in the US, and it will be against West Ham. So we'll look forward to seeing that. We'll look forward to seeing how, surprisingly, Joshua Zexi couldn't come today because he had a knock in training. But it is what it is. We look forward to seeing that, and we look forward to, you know, building momentum ahead of the season. Yeah, it's one of those things, but we have to just, you know, keep it going, and we have to just keep it, you know, keep it grinding and all of that. So thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. I see your wonderful comments, especially for Eddie and Jonesing World, as well as Alexander Cummings. I see your comments, and I really appreciate, especially with our take, because I've been seeing some interesting comments about the take on the truth, the hidden truths behind the Mbumo deal. But yeah, if you don't get the points in the short, you can't get the points in the shorts. You can't get the points in the 2-minute video. I did a whole long 25-minute video where I talked about the history, and I talked about some of the things that we noticed in the media and how much the NFL fans reacted. But it is what it is. If you want to go watch it, it's on the channel. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. Thanks so much for following us all through. We're going to be giving you updates on the tour, and I think Manchester United is going to go to the Niagara side of the United States. We might get to do content around there, but let's see how that goes if we have the opportunity to. But thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing, and hitting the notification bell so you don't have to miss anything as it relates to Manchester United. I'll see you on the next one. Take care, goodbye, and God bless.